All right, great. So thank you. Yes, I'm just going to quickly go through about tell you a bit about Cancer Research Horizons, what we do, and why we do it, with particular reference to the sort of venture sort of building space. So I think you know about Cancer Research UK. We fund lots of science in the cancer space, about 80% in the UK and about 20% overseas. Cancer Research Horizons, probably not so well known, is the sort of innovation engine, innovation subsidiary of Cancer Research UK. Our job is to help get some of these ideas that we're funding out there into society, and cause impact for patients, patient benefit. Where do we fit into the charity's overall strategy? Well, it's interesting. If you actually go and look it up, it's been around for 100 years. If you look it up, its objects at Companies House, it said it's there for doing research and translation. It doesn't say it's just there to do research. So it's important that within our strategy, you can see that we are there. The discovery part is the doing the research part. The engaging is obviously engaging with donors and patients, and the sustain is having a sustainable mechanism. But the important part for us is that we're there to help translate those ideas that are being done under research, and we do that by partnering with other people. They may be investors, they may be industry, they may be governments, etc. We're a wholly owned subsidiary, and if we do generate any surplus or any profit, we immediately reinvest that back into cancer research. So we're sort of a with-profit operation within a non-for-profit organisation, but our motivator is not money, it's patient impact. And what we do is in three main chunks. So Cancer Research Horizons supports intellectual property, the filing of intellectual property, and we support translational funding. I'll tell you a bit about that. We have a whole drug discovery arm to support. So we have sort of 200 people in white coats who help academics with moving therapeutic ideas forward. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that today, really talking about that. Where I'm going to focus most of my discussion today is on the early stage investment and venture horizon, which is a relatively new area for us, but a rapidly growing area. And what it's all about is really trying to get some of these breakthrough ideas out there into the market, to get to pass the baton, to bridge the gap, the valley of death, whatever you want to call it. And we're there to try and bridge that gap. So Cancer Research Horizons has helped 14 drugs to market. CRUK in total has probably done over 50 drugs. You can see that 8 in 10 of the drugs used by the NHS have had CRUK funding involved in them, 8 in every 10 drugs at some point. So far, in terms of money, we have delivered about 600 million back to charity, which has been reinvested back into cancer research. That has come from royalties on drugs, from royalties on diagnostics, and from equity sales in startups. And you can see of the sort of nearly 80 companies we've created so far, about 23 of them are exited. But the most important thing for us is that little start on the bottom there, which we've only just recently started to work out ways to measure, which is patient impact. And it's really hard because you can't get patient survival stats and you can't get the drug companies to tell us exactly how many drugs they're selling. It's commercially confidential information. We can use royalty figures as a bit of a surrogate. Of course, we only get royalties on patented sales, and often many of these sales are in territories where there aren't patents or after patent life. So what we've been doing is we've been using script prescriptions written, which we can get publicly available information for, and then back calculating how many patients benefiting. So far, just from about 10 of those 14 drugs, over 6 million courses of treatment have been written, and that number is rapidly going up. But certainly we need to get better at measuring impact. If we say that's what we're all about, we need to measure it better. And we partner. We partner extensively. Here's a few of the companies we've partnered with. We form companies, we do licenses, we do drug discovery deals, and we form R&D alliances. And we do all of those things. We don't mind, really. We are agnostic to the route forward as long as there is a route forward. So the other thing we do is that we're obviously dealing with very early stage science, and most of that science is not ready for us to pass the baton to investors or pass the baton to biopharma companies who want to take a license. It's just not, it doesn't have enough validation. So we need to de-risk it further. So we increasingly are stepping into that gap. And not everything is a startup. In fact, many venture capitalists, and Mohammed will probably have a view on this, say that often tech transfer offices in universities form spin-outs too early. And the reason they're doing that is because it's the only way to access capital to move the idea forward. So having translational funds that sit before the need to form a venture is quite important. and the charity is putting more money into this space to help with that. So we have early detection awards for diagnostics. We have therapeutic catalyst awards to move forward early stage therapeutic ideas from target onwards. And we've just introduced some data innovation awards that are quite small, but are actually very useful in helping us tidy up data packages that are produced as a natural byproduct of our research and get them ready to license them to AI companies who want high quality data sets to train their AI algorithms on. So we're starting to see more of that activity. There's a whole conversation we could have around commercializing data. And then we also provide some very early, what we call Fast 50 awards, small amounts of money, nimbly and agilely given out. That's just to get things going, and we cover patent costs. And then we also have a seed fund, which I'll come on to tell you a bit about. So this new area, startup and ventures, this is push and pull. So we're seeing more academics want to get things going. Yeah, we're that entrepreneurial culture that I'll tell you a bit about is starting to develop, and we're seeing more academics want startups now. And at the same time, we're seeing more pull from the market. The biopharma companies are doing less internal R&D and wanting to acquire startups more. So we're having to reorganize ourselves away from the old model, which was mainly license it to industry or do collaborations with them more toward venture creation and venture building. So we're adapting to that. Um, what we do, we're a relatively small early stage fund. We're a seed fund, so we can give up to 50K in quick, nimble amounts. We can do a bit of pre-seed work up to 150K, and then we can put seed capital in up to 1 million and follow that with up to 1 million. So typically 500,000 is our sweet spot of what we'd be doing to get a company up and running. Um, we will fund anything. It doesn't have to have been previously CRUK funded because our mission is patient benefit. So we're not just going to fund it if it's only if it's been touched by CRUK. What we care about is good ideas getting to cancer patients. Then if you're going to do that, then you need to. Yeah, but the other reason for wanting to look outside our own funded portfolio of research is how do you know what good looks like? Unless you can look at what other people are doing, and then you get a better feel for the market and what is needed. So, and we very firmly believe we need to invest beyond the CRUK portfolio. And because of that, we now have a ventures team dedicated to doing this. They do all the things you'd expect of an early stage venture capital group, lots of support. So it's venture building. It's not just providing cash. It's trying to help these companies get up and running. And most importantly, those things on the right there, access to networks of co-investors and introducing them to people, access to our investigators and our key opinion leaders to provide validation of ideas and get extra voices in the room. Is this a good idea or not? And access to the patient community, both patient advocates to tell us what patients really need at the end of the day, and also access to patients for clinical trials for our experimental cancer network. And so the seed fund has invested so far about 7.5 million. That's secured. That leverage effect's really important. So it's sort of like £3 for every pound we put in. And we made about 19 investments. We've only been doing this for 2 or 3 years. So this is still a sort of nascent area for us, but it's growing rapidly. And the way we categorize our investments is catalytic. So this is forming brand new ventures out of our science. There's nothing there. We're creating something from scratch, and we co-invest with a number of people who will also do that early stage venture building. We also see a different type of investment, validating. So a classic idea here would be a £5 million round coming together. They've got 4.5 million, and we're coming in with 500,000. Now, why do they want us in that round? Because they're asking us to join the round. Why do they want us in? Because they want us to help validate it. They want those key opinion leaders in our network to look over the idea and kick the tires on it. And they also like our brand being associated with it. It gives it, we hope, a sort of mark of credibility. And then finally, there's a much smaller category. I would say roughly 50-50 on the catalytic and validating. The much smaller category, about 10% of what we do, is what we call strategic. And this is opportunistic. We see a fantastic idea, it's in cancer, and we want in because there's a good chance of a good return and a good IRR, and that will make our overall fund look better, and that increases our chances of raising capital in the future. So it's okay to do that, but it's just only a small proportion of what we're doing. And finally, accessing non-dilutive capital. We have a partnership with Innovate UK. That's very handy. And increasingly, we're starting to see partnerships with charities now who are also entering this space. So obviously, Prostate Cancer Research, Proven Connect, and also Macmillan, we're starting to look at co-investing in as well. So we're going to see more of that in the future, I think. Um, and obviously, it helps that we have not only got a portfolio of startups that are out there doing good stuff, and there's some failures in there. You'd expect some failures, but we've also got some exited companies as well, and that helps with our track record and credibility in terms of people wanting to work with us. And then the final part really is going right back to the beginning is, we want to stimulate more entrepreneurship in our community. We want more academics to want to do this, whether they're postdocs and at the start of their journey or whether they're sort of more senior professors at the end of their careers in academia. We want to see more startups emerge from that, more entrepreneurship in general. So we actively run lots of programs to catalyze this. There is still a bit of a cultural gap. It's definitely getting better. We're starting to see green shoots of that attitudinal change, but there's still a bit of that cultural gap. So I think really when I look at universities, and I used to work at Imperial before for many years, you see the change in attitude moving from years ago when this was actively disencouraged, the sort of translational stuff, to it being tolerated as a sort of side hustle as long as no one really knew about it, to now where we are now is it's sort of accepted and wanted by the university, but not at the expense of good academic outputs and teaching. It comes third on the list. And I guess what we hope for in the future is it will be more equally ranked with those things in the future, but we're not quite there yet. So what we do is we run lots of investor events. We try and get co-investors in the room with our startups. We run lots of accelerators around the country. We try and get younger, early career researchers to engage in this so that they bring it with them when they become the senior academics of the future. They don't see it as mutually exclusive. So they want to be both entrepreneurial and a good academic. You can do both. You don't have to choose. And also, we want to show, it's virtue signaling. We want to show that charity cares about this. So we're running more recognition prizes, more recognition events. This is important, and they need to see that CRUK thinks it's important. So we're doing more of that type of activity. So to finish then, a few lessons. We need to recognise where we are in the overall value chain. So obviously, as charities, you're on the left-hand side of this value chain. This is a value chain that I helped produce for the AMRC that talks about where charities sit in the whole sort of continuum. And the charities sit over there on the left-hand side, and they have their goals, and then the researchers have their goals, the university have his goals, the tech transfer. Everyone has their own goals and outputs they want to see. And the more we all recognise everyone else's outputs, the more we all sort of happily work together. So I think recognising where we are in that chain, and obviously where we are is both at the beginning as a charity and also at the sort of tech transfer agent commercialisation phase. We're operating in both those spaces and bringing patients, convening patients. It's not all about the money. Money helps, clearly, sustainable back into the charity. But if you're driven by money, for example, for me, if I was driven solely by money, I wouldn't do pediatric cancer, I wouldn't do brain cancer, I wouldn't do pancreatic cancer, because I can't make any money from them. I wouldn't do diagnostics, to be honest, because they're really hard to make money from. So, and that's not what the charity wants. So we have to make sure we have the balance of our mission. Money helps, but it's not the prime reason we're doing this. And an example recently for us is we work with LifeArc, another charity, we just launched this literally last month, which is See Further, which is to try and get new medicines developed in pediatric cancer from scratch rather than just repurposing adult drugs for pediatric cancer. And if we're going to do that, we need charities and governments to step in because the investors and industry, they're just behaving rationally. It's very hard for them to make money in these markets because they're ultra niche diseases with not a large population. So governments, charities need to step in, and we want to do both. We want to have the commercial side, but also this sort of mission-driven side as well. Also consider what you want to see. Why are you doing this? If you're operating in this space, so governments want spin-outs and jobs. And they want to measure companies. Accelerators, you see lots of accelerators. They measure the amount of capital they've got. How many exits? Investors obviously want return on investment. That's why they were created, that's why they exist. We are trying to work out what we want to measure. Obviously, patient impact, the most important thing. Our seed fund is not measuring return on investment. It is measuring how many investable propositions did we bridge the gap to, how many of them successfully raised the follow-on round, and how much capital did they attract in against them. And then in terms of our entrepreneurial programs, we're measuring their experience. did the people going into these accelerators have a good experience? Would they promote entrepreneurship to their friends? Would they recommend it to others? Did they have a chance to try and fail in a safe environment? And we're also measuring diversity as part of that as well. We want a diverse community to engage in this. So we are not measuring income, and we do not have targets on income because we do not want to distort what we do. But we absolutely acknowledge income is very helpful and very important, and we would like to see more of it. I'm sure the trustees would as well. And then finally, get good advice while you're doing this. And again, the MRC has a whole section in its website that talks about how charities should work in this IP commercialization space. Many smaller charities, I know it can be very difficult. It's not their natural area. And so there's lots of advice here. What's an appropriate share to get? How do I get feedback? What charities care about? They want to know what's happening to the research. So how do they make sure they get those reports back? And also some do's and don'ts, because I've seen both universities behave inappropriately, not give the charities the information they need to take back to their trustees and donors. But I've also seen charities behave unreasonably as well in terms of interfering with the commercialization process or demanding to, have a say in the commercial terms, but that's not appropriate either. So I think there's a lot of guidance here based on lessons learned that would be very useful for charities to be able to read. So I'm going to stop at that point.
Thanks, Jane. Can everyone hear me and see my screen? So, hello, everyone. I'm Mohammed, managing partner at NG Bio. NG Bio, we invest and build early stage biotech companies with the focus on autoimmunity and inflammatory diseases. And a little bit background about myself, like Jane said. So I founded and led the expansion of life sciences investments strategy in our family office, and it was a strategic investments with the philanthropic mindset of we need to invest in this area. This area requires more money, if anything else. And the financial return is something that always, like Tony said, any investor is looking forward to, but early stage is tough. It's something that, most of the companies or investors, they are uncomfortable, especially working with the academics and early stage research, but someone needs to plug that gap. So we entered and then we invested as a family office. But 4 years ago, I'll take you through the journey of NG Bio a little bit so you know how we arrived to autoimmunity and inflammatory diseases. So as a family office, we invested like it's almost 7, 8 years that we are investing in life sciences. But NG Bio born in 2020 with the vision of going even earlier, working with companies, working with the even scientific founders before the inception, before they, even thinking about like how can I turn this into a company and bring that science into life. So that was our vision, and NG Bio born with that vision. But we after investing in 2 years, we realized that it's not only about the money that we can bring or the business expertise. There is something else that we need to add, which is we need to have a better understanding of what we are investing. So we went through the oncology, every possible route that we can envisage, and we found that autoimmunity and inflammatory diseases, it's an unmet need. It's a huge unmet need because we have like a cancer, UK cancer research. We have like many things in cancer, and we found that autoimmunity and inflammatory diseases, chronic diseases, is something that requires even more attention. So yeah, that's why we narrowed down into a very big area. We say narrowed down, and it's a niche, but it's not niche because it's a more than 100, more than 100 diseases or autoimmune diseases. And now there's more research links many other diseases that are not classically you don't associate them with the autoimmunity or inflammatory diseases such as Alzheimer, Parkinson's. They've got like inflammatory marks. So yeah, add to this list even is going to be longer, and 400 million people suffer from these diseases. And why it's important? Because most of these diseases, if you can see on the right-hand side, the graph shows that the top 10 drug in this space, most of them you know, they are approved like many years ago, old technology, and they manage the symptom, and most of the time they are immunosuppressant drugs, and there's no curative therapy for these diseases, and they have like big share of the market, 75 billion only 1 year of the worst sales of these drugs. And patients, they don't have any other options. And 25% of them remain in a remission after a year. Like it's low. And someone has to plug that gap. And if you look at the clinical trials and everything, they're not much in. So gave us another reason that we need to go early. And we looked into the data and everything, and we realized that okay, it's not the research is there. So if you look at the numbers on the left-hand side, you'll see the publications in in immunity and immune system. Uh, it's gone into the roof, right? You can see the trend. So there are many research and science goes behind it, but someone needs to go in and take those opportunities out and build a business around it. And this is the job of like venture capitalists and as well as like charities, right? To bring these out of the universities. And also oncology helped us a lot, like because immuno-oncology mm, recently like they've done so much and successfully and they manipulate the immune system. Now we can learn from them and deploy those understandings into this space. So here's us. I'm not going to into the details. So it's myself and my business partner Jason, and also we have Martin Bloom, who's our chairman. And we build the team around that immunology. So we can help the founders, we can understand better, we can support the founders not only with the business in mind, also with the drug development side. Because more often than not, drug discovery is one thing that happens at like early stage of a research, but drug development requires different expertise and experiences. So we established that. So everything that we have, we are not only the investors, we deploy our people and team into the companies to help them and support them. So yeah, and we have like a team of advisors who successfully either entrepreneurs, business developers, and we make decisions. We have like an independent investment committee, so we can override the decisions. And how do we find these opportunities? That's another challenge that we have identified. So typically, like you go to the universities, find those opportunities. You talk to the TTOs, and they share their opportunities they have, which is the typical. And also like the co-investors and others, they will share with us their opportunities. But we found that there are other gaps in the market and patients suffers and there is not much that TTOs or universities that they can offer. And we do the thematic approach. We have like two examples, menopause and endometriosis. We found out like there is even it's a huge unmet need there and requires us to go dig deeper. Although there are research, but we need to dig deeper to find them and bring those research into life. And of course, like we have relationship with the pharmaceutical companies, they share their opportunities with us. And here we are, like that's what we do. We identify thematic approach, inbound and pharma, and that's how we see ourselves plugging this gap with funding and also with the business expertise and also the scientific knowledge of how to develop a drug for chronic diseases and get those opportunities to clinical trials. That's where we sit and that's how we position ourselves and we want to support. And if you want to go a level deeper and what we do. So chronic diseases, inflammatory diseases, autoimmune diseases. Um, what do we want to achieve? Four things. One is a curative medicine. We don't want to. The world doesn't need another symptom relief. Doesn't need another immunosuppressant drug. So we want to invest into curative medicine. So everything that we touch, everything that we see, it has to have a curative angle. Second of all, this is a personalized medicine. In um in autoimmune diseases, for example, rheumatoid arthritis, there are even the best drug in the market, there are like 45% of the patients are non-responding. They don't respond to those drugs. So something else needs to be administered. So we want to be focused on like how can we group the patient? It's not going to be like every single patient, but we can we group them together and make sure that we can drug the patients with the right one. And the third one is the really big one. It's the women's health. That, as I mentioned, there are two angles into the women's health. One is the drugs in the market. We have a statistic. We can. I don't think I have time to go through it, but women's health. If you look at the numbers, they respond even less than the men in some of the drugs available in the market, and also like diseases such as endometriosis and the diseases that are caused by menopause in inflammatory space is huge. And tissue repair and regeneration, which is something that it's really hard to find opportunities in that space because if something, rheumatoid arthritis, even if you can cure and stop the progression of the disease, there's nothing in the market that reverse that back. Like there's no drug in available, but yet you go to the York University and they have fantastic research on how to regenerate that, and we are excited about these opportunities. So we can, if we can get it into the market, it's going to be a game changer for patients. Quickly through those sub thesis, if you like. Curative medicine, you can see like 67% of the all the drugs are like symptom focused, even in the research. And curative medicine is something that needs to be addressed and repaired and regenerated. It's a 5.7%. And personal medicine as well. These are like some statistic that shows why it needs more attention. And this is the yeah, on the left hand side you can see the response of the same drug of in a male patient, and in a female you can see clearly shows that they respond less than men. So designing a clinical trial, having that in mind in a drug development is a key, and it sometimes is ignored. So we want to have embed that into every investments that we do. And here's some statistic on, for example, the menopause as just an example. It can be as big as oncology, like uh, 350 billion. It's oncology is a 380 billion market, or if you like, a problem. But menopause can be as big as oncology, but it's underfunded, under researched. So we really want to push on those spaces as well. And tissue regeneration and repair, it's another thing that we want to focus on. And how do we invest? We, as an entry ticket, we have three type of tickets. The first ticket is an access ticket entry. So we don't take anything. We don't take a share. We don't take anything. It's just pre-inception, spin out, if you like. And we just want to get our foot into the research, and we say we are in and we like it and we want to progress this. We know how hard it is to spin out, but we are in this together. So it's kind of like a philanthropic type of approach in that sense. But we just want to fund 10 opportunities before spin out, and then we get into the pre-seed and seed stage. So we can enter either at pre-seed or seed, and we can follow on up to 2.5 million. But that follow on, it has to be our portfolio company. We don't write a bigger check for anything. It's not a part of our portfolio company. But if we invest like 250,000 pounds or 750,000 pounds, then we can follow up to 2.5 million. We tranche it because we want to make sure that the companies that they have the most promise, we can fund them. So we will reserve the fund for the winners. And here's the portfolio of the companies that we have invested. So we have other companies that we have invested previously, but these are the companies that we have invested so far with the autoimmunity and inflammatory diseases investment thesis in mind.